in terms of behaviors, right? For example, there's a point where men don't have any more money to or resources to acquire more drugs, and obviously the behavior is always tending to rob or assault or do something which includes physical, I would say, mechanisms, right? But for
Yeah.
example, in that world that you were in, like how easy is for females to go into prostitution because of those drugs?
Like so it's so easy. Yeah, they can depending on uh like obviously once again the drugs that it could just be so easy once again once how hooked they get. I mean they could just sell themselves so easily. It's pretty sad. Um, I've seen it like a fair bit. And not only just prostitution, like selling themselves for content, that sort of stuff. Yeah, pretty. Yeah, it's very common. Pretty, very, very easy as well. And also, yeah, it's pretty crazy actually.
Yeah, and it's only not bad for the person that offers themselves, but also nobody talks about the person that takes advantage of it.
Yeah, there's lots of predators out there. Lots of dangerous people that play the game that like they're they're king because they've got the drugs. They're dangerous people, and they're sick. A lot of them are like very sick people, and they sort of play king like God with it. They play God with their drugs. Yeah.
It's funny also because you said something very interesting about like the manipulation that these people have over people, and you know what saddens me the most about those individuals is that they don't understand the damage they do overall and the traumas they. And you also spoke about the lead way into drugs is that one of them is alcohol. Also, I believe from a non-alcoholic substance, also traumas.
Mm.
Untreated traumas, and especially we men, we obviously have the tendency of not talking much about our own traumas, right? But let me ask you, in how many people have you seen that didn't get the gateway into drugs because of alcohol, but they got it because of what was going on at home?
A lot of people I've seen, you see a lot of people just born into it, and that's the sad thing because their parents are junkies. I'm very blessed, very fortunate to be grown up and raised in a household that wasn't like that. But yeah, I've met a lot of people that are definitely definitely into it just because of their parents and into it that way, into a drug infused household. Um, it's very sad. It's not even their fault really. I mean, like they're born addicts.
Yeah, that's the hard part too. Is like environment shapes like who you become, how you become it, and
Yeah.
it's so hard to break out of an environment as well too. It's like you gotta adapt to your environments, and it's like, oh, if you don't see what was different, it's like, oh, this is normal. And it's
Yeah.
like,
But the funny thing is though, I still became that even though I had a good like a good upbringing and a decent household. I still became that drug addict, despite you know when you know as I said, kids are were growing up with it, and become it because they have no choice really. But I still became that, even though I didn't. Even though I was much more blessed and much more fortunate than those kids and stuff like that.
there's like trials and tribulations when like in all types of stories, right? And it's like the hardest one is just like kind of finding like the trials, tribulations in our own story in the sense of being like, how do you overcome those? What how did I fall down into this when this trial or tribulation came up? Things like that. It's it's hard to discover in a sense, like where like because it sometimes it's like the trauma starts in the childhood, right? Or even it can even grow up to like to teenagehood and adulthood where the trauma goes on to and coping with the trauma is one of those hard things, and that's why some people get into the drug addictions to cope with certain traumas or certain things that happen.
Yeah. With that, in saying that as well, once you put yourself into like the hard drug life, you're putting yourself into trauma because things are going to happen to you, and that's just a given. So you're basically putting yourself into a trauma lifestyle.
I'm not sure if you guys have watched the movie Beautiful Boy with Timothy Chalamet and Steve Carell, but
Yeah.
it's a great movie, and the son actually it displays his addiction. And something I love from that movie is that they say like he grew up in like a normal household, he had a good life, and he still struggled with addiction. And basically, they say addiction doesn't discriminate; like anybody can fall victim to addiction. And like you're saying, you grew up in a nice home, and I think it's just interesting. Like anybody can really struggle. Yeah.
Like I grew up in a. I personally never met my father, but I've grown up in with just like my mum, single mum, raising us, my brothers and sisters. It wasn't like the keeping up with the Joneses, white picket fence. It wasn't that sort of. It was. We just got by. We just got through. But compared to what a lot of people have, it was very fortunate. But in going back to what you're saying about the movie Beautiful Boy, that's I've seen that movie. Very very touching, very very good movie, yeah. And he gets into the meth and the ice when he's in what is it, college?
Yeah.
Yeah, he started when he was in college, which is just proof that anyone can fall into it. No matter where you come from.
And the vulnerability of just being exposed once can change your whole life, your whole dynamic, your whole way of thinking. And the question is really, it's so easy to get in, but it's so hard to withdraw from.
Yeah.
And for example, your testament, you still battle every day. When you get exhausted at times, I know you go and you get revigorated through God. When you get the strength, I understand you also go look for a purpose. And this is what I would say, and I'm curious to know,